Tonight, a community is on edge after a far-right conspiracy theorist and her followers move in and make threats. And honoring a legend on and off the field, hundreds pay their respects to George Reed. Plus, a Saskatoon puppet maker crafts characters for a show across the world.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Friday, October 6th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Natasha Lipney in for Sam McCaig this evening. We begin tonight near the Alberta border, northwest of Maple Creek, where an extremist cult leader and her followers have set up camp in a small Saskatchewan village. The group has called for public execution of elected officials and other people in the area. Laura Sharpaletti has this story.
What used to be a school is now home to a cult. Self-proclaimed Queen of Canada, Romana Didulo, is known as a far-right QAnon conspiracy theorist. Didulo and some of her followers call themselves the Kingdom of Canada. The group arrived in Richmound on September 15th. They've been staying at the former school, invited by the property owner. Locals say they're nervous about the cult's extreme belief and behavior and the potential impact on children there. On September 24th, the village held a protest outside the school, calling for the cult to leave. Then this week, Didulo's followers emailed a threatening letter to village administration, saying if it didn't follow the decrees of the Queen, they would face judgment. And if found guilty of crimes against humanity or treason, you will face publicly broadcast executions upon yourselves and undeserved devastation upon your children, grandchildren, and families. The mayor says residents are on edge.
People are just staying in their houses more, and their heads are on 360. They're swiveling, whatever. And that's what it should be. But it shouldn't be for the kids, shouldn't be for families. It's just something that our small community in Richmound, our great community, should not have this.
An expert who studied Didulo and her followers says the threats should be taken seriously. So does the mayor.
We should not ignore it. We don't know what their intentions are. We don't know how seriously any one of her followers take it. And we do know that she is true believers.
What does happen if something does happen to a kid? And then everybody says, oh, maybe we should have did something. And that's too late then.
Premier Scott Moe says the Ministry of Justice is discussing the situation.
I most certainly will provide, I think, the community some advice and some options on how they can, ultimately protect the serenity of their community. And the government would support that.
We're monitoring very closely the commentaries, the activities of the group, to gauge, whether or not there's aspects of criminality with respect to their activities.
RCMP say they are increasing their presence in the village. They also say they're investigating the threats of public execution. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
The driver involved in a catastrophic highway crash near Saskatoon 7 years ago is going to prison. Robert Major's girlfriend and two of his young sons died in the crash. Major was speeding across the highway when he hit a semi. He pleaded guilty this summer to dangerous driving causing death and dangerous driving causing bodily harm. The crash happened in February 2016 on Highway 16. The court heard how it traumatized everyone involved, from the survivors to the people who rescued them. It took first responders 3 hours to pull the survivors and victims from the wreckage. The Crown and defense agree the sentence will likely do little to lessen people's pain.
There is no closure really today. This is something that the accused is going to live with for the rest of his life. It's something the families will live with for the rest of their lives. But at least everybody knows today the sentence has been imposed and the matter is over.
The cell that's trapped between your ears, which is your conscience, is one that you remain in forever. And that's certainly the case for Rob here.
The judge accepted a joint submission for a 5-year sentence. With credit for time served, Major has 3.5 years remaining. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association says the Saskatchewan government's plan to use the notwithstanding clause sets a dangerous precedent. It's calling for people to contact their MLAs and show up to a protest on Tuesday. The association's executive director held a copy of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms on the front lawn of the legislature this morning. Premier Scott Moe is recalling the legislature early to invoke the clause and to introduce legislation on the government's naming and pronoun policy in schools. The Saskatchewan Federation of Labour is organizing a rally outside the legislature on Tuesday at noon. Both groups are urging people to support their fight against the use of the notwithstanding clause.
Anyone threatening to shred a piece of the Charter on Tuesday is letting you know exactly how little they respect basic freedoms and how much they value their own power. They cannot be allowed to destroy the strongest protection, our Charter, that we have against government overreach and abuse of power.
Rally organizers expect workers, students, and parents to show up. The special legislative sitting begins at 1:30 on Tuesday. The provincial government is committing more money to tackle homelessness and addictions. The government says $40 million will be dedicated to housing projects over the next 2 years. That will create 155 supportive housing units in Regina and Saskatoon and up the number of permanent emergency shelter spaces.
$14.1 million investment will create up to 120 new permanent emergency shelter spaces in Regina, Saskatoon, Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, and other communities based on need. This means there will be approximately 500 permanent emergency shelter spaces available this winter across Saskatchewan. I want to thank our community-based service providers and our municipal partners who are working closely with us to identify the locations for any new emergency shelters with capacity limits appropriate for the neighborhoods. As we move forward, the province will move to a model of smaller emergency shelters to avoid concentration of vulnerable people in one area.
Mikowski says that between Regina and Saskatoon, there will also be 30 new emergency shelter spaces for people with complex needs. The government also announced a plan to create 500 new addictions treatment spaces and a central intake system that will cost nearly $50 million. A review into Regina's school resource officer program suggests strong support from parents and staff for police in schools, but that's not the case for everyone. The report found Indigenous respondents and those who identify as LGBTQ are less likely to be in favor of the officers. The report also identified some challenges with the program. For example, uniformed officers make some students and staff feel uncomfortable. And not everyone, especially newcomers, understand what's behind the intention of the program. The Catholic School Board says it plans to keep the officers and work on improvements. The Public School Board will decide what to do later this month. Hundreds of people paid tribute to George Reed today during a special celebration of life at Mosaic Stadium. Reed rewrote the CFL record book during his career with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He also made Regina his home. The CBC's Nicholas Frew has more on what he meant to people in our province.
Number 34, George Reed.
George Reed was a husband, father, football player, Grey Cup champion, and philanthropist. But at Friday's ceremony, one word came up repeatedly as people described him.
He's a legend. I'm sure his name will live forever. But I know that the community associations that he worked with will certainly miss him tremendously.
Reed was born in Mississippi, but grew up in Washington State. He moved to Regina in 1963 when he signed with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Over 13 seasons, he helped the Riders win their first Grey Cup and ran for 16,116 yards and 134 touchdowns, both of which were CFL records at the time.
I have 3 sons that are Rider fans directly as a result of my love of the game, and George, Ronnie and George they were it, but George was the best running back to ever play in this league.
Off the field, Reed was a revered community member. In 1978, he was invested into the Order of Canada, the country's highest civilian honor, for his football prowess and his devotion to people living with disabilities. Reed was integral in establishing the Saskatchewan chapter of the Special Olympics and created his own foundation that supports projects that help people with disabilities. These athletes have known Reed for years.
He didn't only play for the Roughriders, he was involved a lot in the community, and he cared about people, and he made Saskatchewan his home, and I was really proud to know him.
The Riders hosted Friday's service, and they will honor Reed again at Mosaic Stadium on Saturday, shortly before kickoff between the Riders and Hamilton Tiger Cats. Nicholas Frew, CBC News, Regina.
Well, check out this new spot to shoot hoops in Saskatoon. The Powhatan facility in River Landing opened this week. It has a full-sized court and 2 3-on-3 courts. The facility was designed with Truth and Reconciliation Call to Action number 90 in mind. That aims to ensure Indigenous people are included in national sports policies and programs. Powhatan is Cree for Let's Dream Together. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Well, rising food costs are on the menu for Thanksgiving. Families gathering this weekend are feeling the pinch. Last year, fresh turkey cost about $7 a kilogram, according to a StatsCan report. This year, it can cost $8 to $10 a kilo. We swung by a local grocery store to find out how people are coping.
Are you going to buy things for Thanksgiving?
Yes.
What are you looking for?
Turkey.
Nice. And what are your expectations? Did you choose Sobeys for a reason?
I did, because with the Scene card right now, they have it on sale for $1.95 a pound from $2.49. So they always do this. It seems like every year. They did this last year too. So I try to wait until I see that sale. I don't know if it's the same as last year, but yeah. I don't know. I shop the flyers, shop the deals, make sure I'm getting the best deal I possibly can. But that's hard this year, I think, for everyone. So.
And is that something that you've been practicing lately with rising prices, or is that just something you've usually always done?
I've always tried to be cost conscious with shopping, but I mean, even the best shopper right now, I still think they're all facing the same 60% increase as everyone else, because that's just what groceries went up by. It's really hard to shop cheaper when the cheapest deal is what it is. It's 60% higher than it was, so yeah.
Amazing. Are you happy to be bagging these deals though?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, girl math, right? Like, if I didn't spend it, I made money.
Not going far, just spending time close by with family and friends.
Yeah. Did you do some grocery shopping?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, and how was that?
It's expensive, for sure. Yeah.
What were you doing differently out there? Did you make some changes from last year or the few years before that in terms of what you buy?
Well, actually, yeah. Instead of like turkey and ham, we're having like sausage and stuff like that instead, because cost of meat and everything is so expensive.
Grocery prices are getting ridiculous, and hopefully grocers will continue to offer specials and points and stuff to help families get through.
Is there anything you look for in particular when you're out there buying groceries?
Generally, it has shifted my grocery shopping. I buy more things on sale as much as possible. I do stock up on basic staples whenever they're on sale, the dried goods, and I shop more grocery stores. I used to be more exclusive, and now I shop more stores to try and find the specials.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Truck Mania is on now.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us now. Ethan, I have a confession. I gave in. I turned on my heat this week. I know it feels early, but I need to know. Can I maybe have a chance to retract that decision this weekend?
Yeah, I think I can help you out, because I don't think you're going to need the heat, and I think you may just need the AC, because temperatures going to be warming up quite a bit over this Thanksgiving long weekend. They're already getting pretty warm right now, especially in Alberta. We're seeing the warm air that's going to be moving our way. 20-degree temperatures this afternoon in Edmonton and Calgary, and some of that warm weather spreading our way, looking at mid-teens in western sections of the province. We got above daytime highs in this region today, but there is a temperature gradient here, because still pretty crisp today in places like Yorkton and Hudson Bay. Even Regina, we had that kind of fall chill in the air, even as we started to warm up from that really cool, unsettled day yesterday. But One big difference today from yesterday to today is the lack of the wind, or at least a pulling back of the wind. We've seen some breezy conditions in western sections today, but this is so much nicer than we saw yesterday afternoon. Due in part to high pressure sitting over kind of the Saskatchewan-Alberta border, and that has been clearing us out. Just a few kind of high clouds passing by. Still seeing, though, some heavier cloud cover and some showers and even a few flurries in northern Saskatchewan, and that is likely to be the case again through the evening hours, at least tonight. Much of this will be falling as rain, and we could see amounts in the far north as much as 5 millimeters. But as that low pressure area begins to move out, we could begin to see that cloud cover move away in northern Saskatchewan, and not just the north, but all of south and central, progressively going through the weekend here. Cloud cover shifts out of here, and we are looking at some very sunny conditions. And those winds a bit breezy at times, perhaps on the holiday Monday picking up a little bit, but generally only in that 30 to 40 range. And they're shifting from the south too, so we get a little bit of that warmer flow to the air than that northwesterly wind that we've been seeing. And another thing helping us out is this ridge in the jet stream, that warmer air to the south going to be moving our way, and it builds in quite high actually as we head into Monday even and into the beginning of next week. And that means that we're looking for very nice conditions for tomorrow's Rider game. 17 degrees at kickoff with pretty light winds, and even by the end of the game we'll continue to see double-digit temperatures stick around, so really only a light jacket required there. Regina, otherwise, the rest of the long weekend, that forecast holding up, upper teens for the most part. As I say, Monday, Tuesday might be a little bit breezy, but other than that, still quite nice. Lots of sunshine, even as we return to kind of more seasonal conditions as we head through kind of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But still holding up, that we're not really seeing any overnight lows drop below the freezing mark. Pretty good for this time of year. Saskatoon 20s on the board for you as we head through the holiday weekend here. You could see those gusts pick up a little bit on Monday as well, but then even as those temperatures return to normal, that sunshine and those warm overnight lows sticking around as well. So even after the weekend there, Natasha, conditions staying above or even kind of at seasonal, so very nice.
Love to see it. Thank you, Ethan.
You bet.
Oh, I like that one over there. It makes your eyes look less intense.
You might recognize a few locales in CBC's latest show release. Season 2 of Zarka was entirely shot in Regina. The comedy follows the main character's quest to befriend a social media influencer, which inevitably backfires. The character is named after the show's lead star and creator, Zarka Nawaz. You can catch it on CBC Gem starting today. We'll be back after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
Canada's economy added almost 64,000 jobs in September. That's many more than experts expected. Quebec and BC led in new jobs, and Saskatchewan fared pretty well too. It added 13,700 new jobs year over year. Next door, Alberta lost about 38,000 jobs. Most of the new gigs were part-time, something economists say could be tied to the ongoing influx of immigrants. The jobless rate remained steady at 5.5% in September, but wages continued to climb. That's led some to believe the Bank of Canada could raise its key lending rate again before the end of the year. Canada's highest court has dismissed a freedom of the press appeal made by several media organizations, including CBC News. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously that media cannot publish parts of a criminal trial that take place before jurors begin deliberations or are dismissed. The ruling says publication bans protect the right of the accused to a fair trial. 2 cases were at issue, including the high-profile trial of a Dutch man who was convicted for his role in the death of Amanda Todd. She's the BC teen who died by suicide in 2012 after being exploited online. 8 media organizations argued a publication ban on pretrial proceedings in the cases violated freedom of the press. This year's Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to an Iranian women's rights activist who's currently in jail.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2023 to Narges Mohammadi for her fight against the oppression of women in Iran.
Nargis Mohammadi is serving multiple sentences in a notorious Tehran prison, and it's not the first time she's been behind bars. Charges against the 51-year-old include spreading propaganda against the state. She has continued to speak out against the Iranian regime from inside prison. She's also campaigned against the death penalty. Her award follows a turbulent year of anti-government protests in Iran. And Ethan is back with another look at our long weekend forecast.
And good for a Saturday morning walk. That's the type of weather we can expect tomorrow in Regina. 6 degrees already by 8 a.m. Those winds staying light. We've got those mostly sunny conditions sticking around. And again, even by the noon hour, already up to 16. Could go as high as 18 in Regina. Those nice conditions sticking around for the Rider game at the end of the day. And a reminder that our whole weekend looks pretty nice in Regina. Again, upper teens for the most part with overnight lows kind of sitting in that 4 or 5 degree range. And Saskatoon also looking at very nice conditions through the day, very similar to Regina, up to 16 as well at the noon hour. And again, for you in Saskatoon, could be getting to the 20 degree mark. Again, those winds picking up a little bit here and there, but lots to be thankful about with this forecast, Natasha.
Thanks so much, Ethan, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Same to you.
A Saskatoon puppet maker is excited to see some of her creations in a new Pakistani children's program. She doesn't understand what they're saying, but she appreciates what they're trying to do. Here's Bonnie Allen with more.
A new Pakistani children's program in the language Urdu, brought to life through puppets made in Saskatoon.
Like some of it, you can hide the seams better when you're hand sewing.
This mother of 3 began making puppets about a decade ago as a creative outlet, and it became her passion. Now, Alison Ewart takes custom orders from faraway places.
I like the idea of imagining a character and then bringing it out into the real world. I feel like it's really fun and it's never boring.
2 years ago, she received a private message on Instagram from someone in Pakistan. She didn't know it then, but he's a famous Pakistani musician. Bilal Maqsood wanted to create a musical children's program that would teach language and life lessons in Pakistan's national language, Urdu. He enlisted the help of director Omar Adil.
The kids these days, my children, are not that well versed in the language like we used to be. And because of they're exposed to the internet and because of globalization.
The show, called Pake Dost, which means best friends, was launched last month, and it revives the more traditional art of puppeteering.
We wanted to do the classic way of puppetry where everything is shot live, all the songs are recorded live, and the people who are the voices are also the puppeteers.
Ewart says puppets can create a safe space for communication, and she's happy to be part of it.
It's super exciting. I liken it to watching my kids ride their bike for the first time. Like, I can't believe they're kind of doing their own thing, like they're really coming to life.
And for her, it's exciting to watch the puppets she made by hand sing and dance online, even if she doesn't understand the language they're speaking. Bonnie Allen, CBC News.
Well, that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask, or you can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan and I will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching, and have a great long weekend.